at damitan mo po kami ng iyong damit ng katwiran. Sa araw po na ito, na pagbubukas ng aming sesyon, tulungan niyo po ang bawat isa sa amin. Bigyan niyo po kami ng kalakasan, katalinuhan upang bagtasin ang anumang mga pagsubok, anumang mga dinadala ng aming mga kababayan upang mapaglingkuran po namin sila. Sa amin pong mga manggagawa na patuloy na nakikipagsapalaran, lalo na po yung mga construction worker ng gumuhong gusali sa Angeles City. Biyayaan niyo po sila at ang kanilang mga pamilya ng tatag ng pananampalataya. Sa mga kabataang Pilipino na lalo na po yung mga bagong graduates at first-time job seekers, puspusin niyo po sila ng inspirasyon at tibay ng loob na harapin ang mabilis na pagbabago sa mundo ng trabaho. Dalangin po namin na sa gitna po ng modernong teknolohiya, lalo na po ang artificial intelligence, naway patuloy po nilang magamit ang kanilang talino at skills na kapaki-pakinabang hindi lang po sa kanilang mahal sa buhay at pamilya, kundi sa aming inang bayan. Lord Jesus, nilalapit namin ang aming buong bayan, mula po sa Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, maging ang aming mga mahal na OFWs. Nawa po, ang maghari po sa amin ay ang pagkakaisa, ang pagkakaunawaan, at pagtutulungan upang sama-sama po naming masolusyonan ang krisis sa enerhiya, krisis sa pagkain, krisis sa trabaho, at kabuhayan na hinaharap ngayon ng aming minamahal na bansang Pilipinas. Ito po ang aming inilalapit at idinudulog sa iyo ng may pananampalataya na ikaw, O Diyos, na nagsimula ng mga magagandang bagay sa aming mga buhay, sa aming inang bayang Pilipinas, pinangako mo, tutuparin mo po ito, kukumpletuhin mo po ito hanggang sa iyong pangalawang pagbabalik. Binabalik po namin sa iyo ang lahat ng papuri, pasasalamat sa tanging pangalan ng aming Panginoong Hesus. Ang lahat po'y makiisa at magsabing Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Senator Joel, and thank you for the senators who have led us in prayer the last few days. Truly, to be united in prayer is a blessing. Secretary, please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Aquino, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Escudero, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lacson, Senator Lapid, Senator Ligarda, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Soto, Senator Tulfo Erwin, Senator Tulfo Rafi, Senate President Cayetano Alan is present.
Or appear.
The building naman, pero wala siya.
Stop or go? Yeah. Okay. There are 22 senators present. The chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader, before we go to the journal, just an announcement. So there are 23 senators present. Kaya tinanong ko, stop or go? Before we go to the journal, just an announcement. Joel, you have that? Yung investigation. So, maybe after the reference of business, or even before that, as announced yesterday, we'll have an all-member caucus. We will discuss two things. We'll finalize the schedule. There's some amendments from the Secretariat and also some announcements and some questions, if there are any suggestions for preparation of our staff. Secondly, one senator, and I thank him, but I won't name him because I didn't ask him yesterday, inquired about the investigation of the DOJ to the May 13 events. So we continue to receive subpoenas or requests for information from different agencies and departments. We have, from the start, fully cooperated. We agreed to a joint investigation with the... So we want to share the information and get direction from all members, just for the information, so that there'll be no misunderstanding. Then I guess the news is the news, and there's no surprises there. So after the all-member caucus, we will ask the indulgence of the minority, because the majority, while we are still the majority, will have a majority caucus after. So if there are any important matters you want to bring up after the journal, of course, that is your privilege. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, before we proceed, may I just be allowed to acknowledge some guests from the gallery, guests of our Senate President and the Senate. The Council of Bishops and Ministers Association of the Philippines, CBMAP. We have with us also former Presidential Advisor for Religious Affairs, our dear Bishop Tito Butch Belica is here with us.
Who celebrated his
birthday,
yesterday.
Mr. President, yesterday. Mr. President, we also have guests of Senator Ligarda, Dr. Godelin Hisol, Dr. Jelyn Alentahan, and Mr. Rainier Paul Teologo. Guests of Senate Minority Leader Tito Soto, Dr. John Ortiz Chope, guests of Senate President Cayetano, Princess Bustamante, Miss Teen World Philippines Earth 2026, who hails from Taguig City. We welcome all of them in this August chamber, Mr. President.
And we'd like to thank not only the bishops, but the millions of Filipinos who are praying for the Senate and for the country. Your prayers are felt by both the minority and the majority.
Yes. Mr. President, Senator Lito Lapid is seeking the floor. May I move that he be acknowledged, Mr. President?
May I ask for silence? We want to listen to the legend, Senator Lapid.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Kaliwanagan lang po, manifestation lang. Tungkol po yung nangyari kahapon at marami pong kumakalat sa social media na ako'y lumipat na sa majority. Hindi po totoo yan. Nananatili po ako sa minority group at hindi po ako alis dito. At yung pong motion ni Senator Subiri kahapon ay sinusuportahan ko po. Hindi ko lang po ako nakapagsalita kahapon. Kala ko may botohan. Ngayon pala wala naman. Hiling ko lang po dito sa Senado. Sana magkaisa tayo. Iwasan ang bangayan. Ang dami-dami natin bisitang pari dito. Palakpakan po natin sila. Para ipagdasal po kami na magkaisa na kami para maibalik ang dangal ng Senado. Maraming salamat po.
Your manifestation is noted. And wala ka man sa majority, Senator Lito Lapid, nandiyan ka parate sa puso namin.
Mr. President,
Senator Pia Cayetano.
I'd just like to comment. Gusto ko lang magpasalamat kay Senator Lito Lapid na kahit na magkaiba na tayo ng partido, I think we are batchmates, so magkasama kami since 2004. So majority, minority, buwan-buwan nagpapadala pa rin siya sa akin ng Maha Blanca at Suman. Maraming salamat po.
Gusto ko kasi malaman mo na mahal kita.
What does the brother say?
No, I am trying to figure out bakit Maha Blanca ang binibigay sa kanya, samantalang sinabi ko na kay Kuya Lito Lapid na ako'y umiinom na ng maintenance medicine para sa kolesterol, pero sisig pa rin ang dinadala niya para sa akin. So iniisip ko kung mahal din niya ako o si Senator Pia lang ang kanyang mahal.
Mr. President, nilalapit ka daw niya sa Diyos. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 67th session May 25, 2026, and consider the same as approved.
Let us first recognize the former Senate President and the present Minority Leader. Senator Tito Soto, sir.
Thank you, sir. I am not objecting. I would just like to make sure that the manifestation of Senator Lapid is manifested in the journal, because
Yes.
in the journal yesterday, it is manifested that he did not agree with the motion of Senator Subiri. So we want that
Yes, so
corrected.
before we approve the journal should accurately reflect that Senator Lito Lapid agreed with every member of the minority. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank
And
you.
in the end, we agreed as a body, to find a way forward. Yes. Senator Erwin Tulfo, you are
Senator
recognized.
Erwin is
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Floor Leader. It's a quick manifestation, or if not, a sort of point of clarification, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
I heard that the media are their access to areas in the Senate are limited. Is there a new rule right now, Mr. President? They are banned from going to the sixth floor to conduct interviews or wait for our VIPs, and then they're not allowed anymore in our railings. I mean,
I will check. I have no information. I have not moved to the sixth floor.
please.
I am still holding office here. Sometimes we ask them to allow us to pass going to the session hall. We can't blame them because the Senate is hot topic. There's been some senators who have asked because usually we confine to some areas, but because of the activity since May 11, everyone wants to get their footage, whether in their official camera. So I think we've just asked for a little bit of order here, but let me inquire. But so far, I have no information that we're limiting any movement from the media.
Thank you, Mr. President, because that's they were told by I don't know. I really don't know whose order did it come from.
They were told that
They're not allowed to go to the sixth floor anymore and to move away from the railings because they were just surprised, Mr. President,
Well,
that during the previous...
let me check the sixth floor because I don't hold office in the sixth floor.
Yes, so they're
there-
asking if there's a new rule, Mr. President.
Yes, but as far as the railings is concerned, that has been an old ruling before they're even allowed on the floor. When you were not still a senator, sir, before 3 o'clock. But what happens is that sometimes the Senate President, that was before I left the Senate to go to DFA, Senate Majority Leader. No? I don't know when we changed the rule na hindi sila pwede sa floor. But they have allotted space all over, but we also have guests. And then our staff has the first row for obvious reasons. But of course, when there's activity on the floor, they move forward. So if it's just a reminder to give the staff enough space and also enough room, that's okay. But if they're being prohibited or in any way they're being hampered from doing their job, then I'll make sure that that doesn't happen. But having said that, we do have limited space all over and medyo mas marami na talagang media ngayon.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. President, and for that assurance. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up, Senator Tulfo.
Yes, Mr. President, I move for the previous question that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 67th session, May 25, 2026, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
There's no objection. Please proceed.
Bills on first reading. Senate Bill number 2151 titled, An Act Urging the Comprehensive Planning, Development, and Export Promotion of the UBE, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Marcos.
Referred to the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Trade, Commerce and Entrepreneurship, and Finance.
Number 2152, an act defining the rights and fundamental freedoms of human rights defenders, declaring state responsibilities, and instituting effective mechanisms for the protection and promotion of these rights and freedoms, by Senator Ontiveros.
Referred to the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
An act granting the Katigbak Enterprises, San Pablo City Incorporated, a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain radio and television stations in the Philippines by Senator Aquino.
Referred to the Committee on Public Services.
An act establishing a College of Medicine in Eastern Samar State University in the province of Borongan, province of Eastern Samar, and appropriating funds therefore by Senator Aquino.
Referred to the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
An act unifying the National Police Clearance System and National Bureau of Investigation Clearance System, creating the Unified Criminal Clearance System database, providing funds therefore and for other purposes by Senator Soto III.
Referred to the Committees on Justice and Human Rights, Public Order, and Dangerous Drugs, and Finance.
An act providing for a 5-year validity period of the professional identification cards of all Professional Regulation Commission by Senator Tulfo Rafi.
Referred to the Committee on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation.
Number 2157, an act institutionalizing the grant of internship allowance for students in public and private state universities and colleges in the Philippines by Senator Tulfo Rafi.
Referred to the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
Number 2158, an act modifying the prescriptive period of money claims arising out of employer-employee relations, amending for this purpose Article 306 of Presidential Decree Number 442 as amended, otherwise known as the Labor Code of the Philippines by Senator Tulfo Rafi.
Referred to the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
Number 2159, an act regulating the planning, design, construction, occupancy, maintenance, and demolition of buildings, promoting building resilience against earthquake, fire, flood, landslide, storm, volcanic eruption, and multiple hazards within an all-hazards approach to resilience building, enacting a new Philippine Building Act, repealing for the purpose Republic Act Number 6541, entitled An Act to Ordain and Institute a National Building Code of the Philippines and Presidential Decree Number 1096, otherwise known as the National Building Code of the Philippines, by Senator Tulfo Rafi.
Referred to the Committees on Public Works and Finance.
An act strengthening the national anti-rabies program through the establishment of animal bite centers in rural health units, the provision of free anti-rabies vaccinations, and appropriating funds therefore by Senator Tulfo Rafi.
Referred to the Committees on Health and Demography, Local Government, and Finance.
Okay. Number 2161, an act mandating the establishment of mangrove buffer zones in development projects throughout the Philippines by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change, Tourism, Ways and Means, and Finance.
Number 2162, an act declaring the Verde Island Passage in the provinces of Batangas, Marinduque, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro, and Romblon as an ecotourism zone, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Tourism, Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change, and Finance.
Number 2163, an act mandating the establishment of 20-year sports excellence roadmap to strengthen grassroots sports program and to develop world-class elite athletes, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committee on Sports and Finance.
Number 2164, an act establishing a One Town, One Tourist attraction program to promote tourism and sustainable economic development and appropriating funds therefore by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Tourism, Local Government, and Finance.
Number 2165, an act providing for a Magna Carta of tricycle drivers and operators, institutionalizing mechanism for its implementation and for other purposes by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Public Services, Local Government, and Finance.
Number 2166, an act prohibiting the indiscriminate use of beacons, sirens, and other emergency vehicle lights and audio accessories for moving motor vehicles except as prescribed by law, providing penalties therefore and for other purposes by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Public Services and Finance.
Number 2167, an act assisting young athletes by providing programs and incentives for their development by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Youth, Sports, and Finance.
Number 2168, an act strengthening the Commission on Human Rights, CHR, as a national human rights institution, NHRI, and for other purposes by Senator Ejercito.
referred to the Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Finance.
Number 2169, an act providing for stricter enforcement in the construction, installation, and maintenance of public safety signages by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Public Works and Finance.
Number 2170, an act amending Republic Act number 10586, otherwise known as the Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act of 2013 and for other purposes by Senator Tulfo Erwin.
Referred to the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drug and Public Services.
Resolutions. Proposed Senate Resolution number 404, congratulating and commending Carl Jarrell L. Drew Pokisiolo for his remarkable performance and multiple medal wins at the 2026 Artistic Gymnastic Apparatus World Cup Series by Senator Cayetano P.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
405, resolution commending and congratulating the winning shoe designers and Marikina shoe manufacturers for their outstanding achievement during the 15th International Footwear Design Competition and recognizing the valuable contribution of the Marikina footwear industry by Senator Gatchalian.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
406, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the collapse of a 9-story building under construction in Angeles City, Pampanga, with the end in view of conducting a comprehensive review of the National Building Code and related regulations, strengthening occupational safety standards, and ensuring accountability of responsible parties by Senator Pangilinan.
Referred to the Committees on Public Works, Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
407, honoring the courage, service, and commitment to duty of First Lieutenant Ruth Angelic Pasos and Second Lieutenant Cherky and Lawan Embudo of the Philippine Air Force and extending the profound condolences of the Senate to their bereaved families by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture and pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of the Rules of the Senate, may I respectfully move to elect the following members of the Committee on Public Order: Senators Go, Estrada, Marcoleta, Padilla, and Marcos. And upon the instruction of the chairperson, may I respectfully manifest the designation of Senators Go, Estrada, Marcoleta as Vice Chairperson of the committee. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. The motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we elect the following members of the Committee on Basic Education. Again, for the part of the majority, Senators Padilla, Go, Estrada, Pia Cayetano, Mark Villar, Marcos Villanueva, and Marcoleta. And upon the instruction of the chairperson, may I respectfully manifest the designation of Senator Padilla as Vice Chairperson of the committee. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of the Rules of the Senate, I now move to elect the following members of the Committee on Culture and the Arts. Again, on the part of the majority, Senators Padilla, Pia Cayetano, Joel Villanueva, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Marcos, and upon the instruction of the chairperson, may I manifest the designation? Oh, sorry, Mr. President. That's it, Mr. President. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move to elect the following members of the Committee on Higher Technical and Vocational Education on the part of the majority, Senator Ligarda as Vice Chairperson, and for members, Senator Pia Cayetano, Senator Go, Senator Padilla, and Senator Mark Villar. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
May I ask for a minute suspension, Mr. President?
Before that, Majority Leader, so I also have the list of other committees. With the permission of everyone, I will approach Minority Leader. I've been approaching Senator Miggs or yourself on possible committees of the minority. And then, of course, feel free to read your members of the existing committees at any time because I think the ratio is finalized. Then, just for the information of everyone, we're aware that we do have to constitute the CA, and the Minority Leader and I are talking. We're down to just one seat that we are discussing so that we can finalize. Majority Leader, you motion
Move
to
for minute suspension, Senate minute suspension, Mr. President.
for the caucus or just a minute suspension here?
So we can talk about it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Session is suspended.
tayo? Wala na to. I'll take this out. Ah, oh, what is this bill? Citizenship na naman? Yun lang? Meron pang ano? Interpellation? Oh? Citizenship? Where's Joel? I'll wait for him.
Madam?
Session is resumed.
Madam President, may I respectfully move that we resume consideration of House Bill number 6639, granting Philippine citizenship to Mr. Benny Boatwright III. I so move, Madam President.
Any objection? Hearing none. Resumption of consideration of the measure is approved.
Madam President, the parliamentary status of the measure is that this has been sponsored on the floor, and I move to open the period of interpellation. And may we recognize the distinguished sponsor, Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan, to sponsor the measure, and this representation to ask some questions, Madam President.
We recognize Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan and to interpellate Senator Joel Villanueva.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Acting Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Distinguished colleague, the chairperson of the Senate Committee on the former chairperson of the Senate Committee on Justice.
The former, yes. The former.
Yeah, may I be allowed to ask some clarificatory questions, some policy questions from this representation, Madam President?
Willingly to the basketball star of the UST Golden Tigers.
I will no longer ask any questions, Madam. See, kidding aside, Madam President, distinguished colleague who is also a sports aficionado, although he hails from a different school, the University of the Philippines, but last time when DLSU bagged the volleyball championship, I saw him saying he is also from De La Salle, so I don't know. But
High school, I was a NCAA volleyball
yes.
Player in the La Salle Green Hills NCAA Juniors volleyball. Champion po kami ng 4 na taon, Mr. President.
Yung UST din po champion. 4-pit sa UAAP, Mr. President. But kidding aside, Madam President, and just to go straight to the point, I'd like to point out some policy questions here, Madam President. In fact, I have been a supporter of this kind of measure. In fact, this representation filed and sponsored the naturalization of Justin Brownlee. I know for a fact, Madam President, the importance of being competitive, especially in the international leagues. May I ask, Madam President, if the sponsor would agree with this representation that indeed legislative naturalization for athletes must remain an exceptional policy measure and not become a routine mechanism for strengthening the national team?
We agree, Mr. President, that it should be taken more as an exception rather than the rule, Mr. President. In exceptional cases, the legislative naturalization may be, or ought to be, or can be resorted to by the Senate, by Congress, Mr. President.
Thank you for that, Madam President. And if I may also, and the distinguished sponsor could correct this representation if I'm wrong, because under the FIBA rules or FIBA regulations, countries are generally limited to only one naturalized player in official competitions, indicating, Mr. President, Madam President, that even international basketball rules contemplate naturalization as a narrow exemption rather than the foundation of a certain national team.
That is correct, Mr. President. Our SBP resource person confirms that, Mr. President.
Mr. President, Madam President, Congress has recently seen an increasing number of legislative naturalization requests. Marami na po tayong nakita dito sa bulwagan na ito na kasama involving different players, no, basketball o ibang larangan ng palakasan. Would the sponsor agree with this representation that Congress must now examine whether the frequency of these requests remains consistent with the exceptional character of legislative naturalization?
We are more than willing, Mr. President, and we agree that this should be more the exception rather than the rule. We do have to likewise place on record, Mr. President, that while the FIBA limits its naturalization of players to one, this is not the case, for example, for the Asian Games, where the Asian Games Organizing Committee allows for 3 naturalized players with at least 3 years residence. So, while on the one hand you have FIBA limiting it to 1, we find ourselves in the arena wherein the competition, as among other basketball teams in the region, or at least in the Asian Games, wherein they have 3 naturalized players. And therefore, in that case, then we must look at how we can address the ability of our team to compete in such a setup or a scenario, Mr. President.
I agree, Madam President, distinguished colleague, and I know for a fact, as a basketball aficionado, this representation represented the country twice in international competition, although not too many people would believe me, but you can Google it.
We believe it, Mr. President.
Senator Bam believes, Mr. President. But let me point out, Madam President, the complication of having a lot of players. So maybe let me ask this question: how does Samahang Basketball or Samahang Basketball Pilipinas (SBP) would look into this? Paano po napipili yung mga individuals? Paano nilang na-scout at sasabihin nilang, uy, ikaw potential ka to actually represent our country in international competitions?
Yes, Mr. President. We are informed that it is the coach of our Philippine team, basketball teams, that do the scouting. And there are several criteria, but currently, given the competition that we are facing, the stiff competition that we are facing, a key component, apart from, of course, the willingness to embrace Filipino citizenship and the attendant interest in becoming Filipino, would be the height, for example. That's why Mr. Boatwright is 6'11", 6'10". So that is one consideration, Mr. President, given what we're facing in terms of other basketball teams in the region, Mr. President.
The Senate President thought that he is 6'7". So it's 6'10". The height is 6'10".
6'10", Mr.
Yeah,
President.
Mr. President, I have no problems with the gentleman, the nominee, Mr. Benny Boatwright. I have seen him play several times in the professional basketball. It's just that unfortunately, he actually had an Achilles tear, if I'm not mistaken, like a year ago. So that is also my concern. Like, of course, when you look at the pool right now, and I think the gentleman, the distinguished sponsor would agree with this representation, that FIBA recognizes players that acquire their nation's passport before they turn 16 years old as locals. But again, under FIBA international regulations, Book 3, Article 3-21, there is a clause that allows players to still qualify if they have continuously resided in a country for at least 10 years before their 16th birthday. So, my point here, Madam President, is that indeed our teams, for example, in this particular case, our Gilas, should really prepare long-term preparation when these issues would come in. For instance, Madam President, and I really feel bad that it took so long for us in Congress to pass that citizenship of Justin Brownlee. And I'm not sure how old he is right now, but I think he has been waiting for about 4 or 5 years before he was he became a naturalized Filipino, and that's the only time that he represented our country. So again, would the sponsor agree that these rules, as mentioned by this representation, significantly affect long-term roster planning for Gilas Pilipinas? Because, for example, Mr. President, as a basketball aficionado, and I think a lot of us here in this August chamber would agree with me, we have, for example, and we have acquired the services of Jordan Clarkson. We have Filipinos right now playing in the semifinals of the NBA. You have Dylan Harper, half Filipino, from the San Antonio Spurs. We have Jared McCain from the Oklahoma Thunder. So, are we at all entertaining the idea of securing their services to represent our country?
Has that been discussed? Yes. Well, Mr. President, my understanding is they have in fact approached a number of the individuals that was mentioned by the good senator from Bulacan. But the preference of these Harper, Clarkson, Harper,
And
is
McCain.
and McCain would be to play for the U.S. teams, Mr. President. But you're right. We agree that there has to be a long-term strategic intervention that would bring us, a policy of recruitment, and so that the best of our, our Filipino American players, Filipino European players, are part of the strategic recruitment plan, if we can call it such, Mr. President,
Yes.
for our basketball teams.
Thank you for that, Madam President. And I have to also point out Jalen Green of the Phoenix Suns, Mr. President. Just so we don't forget, Mr. President, if this proposed applicant is naturalized, as mentioned a while ago by the distinguished sponsor, he cannot play with Justin Brownlee in FIBA rules, but he can play with Justin Brownlee in Asian Games. Is that correct, Your Honor?
That is correct, Mr. President.
Thank you for that. Again, I was just told that Justin Brownlee now is 38 years old.
And that is why
yeah.
he is not a spring chicken compared to his other teammates, Mr. President.
But I would attest, Mr. President, that if I am to choose the best ever naturalized Filipino citizen to play for our country, it would be Justin Brownlee. And I think a lot of people would agree with me.
I agree with you, Mr. President.
With regards to his performance. Mr. President, just not to belabor the matter, I just have two more questions. Considering that the Philippines already has existing naturalized players, ano po yung specific rationale for seeking naturalization of another basketball player to the point na do we need at least 3, for instance, if you talk about Asian rules? Or how long do we, or how many times do we need to do this, Mr. President? Just to set our policy straight, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President. Currently, we have 6 players, Mr. President, naturalized basketball players granted Philippine citizenship. Indonesia, for example, based on the data given us, has 5. Lebanon has 5, and Japan has 12. So this gives us a sense of the competition out there in terms of naturalized players of their respective countries mentioned. And that's why we do have this pool of players. There are several considerations. For example, some of them are better suited with respect to other players in another team. So the chemistry will be different for each player, and therefore a pool of players will then give our coaches more flexibility and leeway in terms of being able to put together a strong team, Mr. President.
And it's not a policy that we're only looking after these players with the enormous height advantage. Is that correct, Your Honor? Or that
That is-
is the main goal?
That is a consideration, Mr. President, but of course the ability to gel, the attitude, the character. In fact, when we were hearing this measure on Benny Boatwright, his coach mentioned that among many or almost a significant number of the imports that he has worked with, walang sakit ng ulo na binibigay itong si Benny Boatwright. He is in that sense very manageable and very disciplined and does not give them any headaches, Mr. President.
Yeah, coachable.
Coachable.
Ika nga, Madam President. And I've seen him, Mr. President, no? And that's why I keep on saying I have no objection of him being naturalized. I'm just trying to do my best to set the stage specifically when it comes to our policies, Mr. President. And as the sponsor made mention a while ago, ang pinaka-importante yung attitude and character. There were rumors before that there are some athletes, I'm not sure if it's in the world of basketball or other sports, na pagkatapos pong makuha yung citizenship, aalis na ng bansa at dun sa ibang bansa nahuli or nagkaroon ng mga kaso, etc. Mr. President, yung huling tanong ko po, meron po bang parte dito sa panukalang batas na ito na nagsasabing hindi po pwede na i-take for granted lamang yung citizenship na pagiging isang Pilipino, kung hindi dapat maging embrace din niya yung ating karakter bilang isang tunay na Pilipino na law-abiding citizen at sinasalamin niya yung karakter ng isang Filipino citizen, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President, we made this clear during the hearings. In fact, Senator Jinggoy Estrada was there asking Mr. Boatwright about his intentions regarding residing in the Philippines. And therefore, yes, there has to be that commitment. This is his second time to come back. He has already played for the San Miguel Beermen in the PBA, and this is his second season. And therefore, we agree that there has to be not simply a commitment to play basketball for the country, but to embrace, to represent our flag means to embrace what it is to be Filipino. And in the questions that we raised, we were convinced, Mr. President, that Mr. Ramos, who is the wrestling, how do you call it, wonder kid in the U.S., and Mr. Boatwright qualify in terms of their desire to embrace Filipino culture and become citizens of the country.
Thank you very much, Madam President. That would be all. My high school coach, Francis Chua, already texted me to stop asking questions. But I would just like to put on record that for me, it is important that we lay down our policy with regard to naturalization, Madam President. And I thank the gentleman, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, for answering my questions. Thank you. And that would be all. Thank you.
And we thank the good gentleman from Bulacan, and we agree with him, Mr. President, that the policy has to be clear-cut and that it should not be arbitrary and whimsical and just for the sake of bringing in citizens, naturalized citizens for the heck of it, Mr. President. There has to be a clear-cut policy on this, and we appreciate the questions raised by the good senator.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator Pangilinan. Madam President, there being no other reservation for interpellation.
Thank you, Senator. A majority leader. I see Senator Rodante Marcoleta. What is your pleasure, Senator Dante?
Madam President, I ask the sponsor if he is willing to take a few questions.
We recognize Senator Dante Marcoleta.
Willingly, Mr. President,
For
to our
interpellations.
Kabalen from Pampanga and Tarlac.
Salamat po, Madam President. It's still about policy, Madam President. The bill on Benji Boatwright, of course, originated from the House of Representatives based on Article 6, Section 24, it being a private bill. And I believe that the counterpart bill is not different from the wordings of the
That is
Houses.
correct, Mr. President. The authors in the Senate will be the Senate President, Alan Cayetano, Senator Pia Cayetano, and Senator Bongo, Mr. President.
Yes, Madam President, and let's see, Section 1 says that Benji Francois Boatwright is hereby granted Philippine citizenship with all the rights, privileges, and prerogatives, etc., etc. And then on Section 2, Madam President, Mr. Sponsor, the same person shall take the oath of allegiance to the Republic of the Philippines before an officer duly authorized to administer the same. Madam President, citizenship is one, allegiance is another. How do we exactly measure the allegiance of a prospective person to acquire Philippine citizenship? Is it because we had a chance, for example, to win one game or two in a competition and that's it? What is the policy? Did we have, for example, a study that in several competitions in the past when we had the opportunity of taking as much imports as we can in order to participate in international competitions, and maybe we had some glories, maybe we won some, and maybe we lose some. Is that the only consideration because we wanted to shine on one sport that we love most as Filipinos? Yun po ba yung consideration lang? Kasi po, Madam President, yung allegiance po will take the place of patriotism. One who has the ability to do something more for the Philippines. And as a matter of fact, if that citizenship is granted, he should also be prepared to die for this country. Can we, na-measure po ba natin yun sa kanya? Because it seems to me that it's easy to grant citizenship on the basis of how we plays in basketball. Parang napakanipis po naman ng justification. Pagka ganun po ang ating panuntunan lang, paano naman po yung talagang gustong-gusto niya maging Pilipino, but unfortunately, Madam President, talaga pong hindi siya masyadong marunong sa basketball. Hindi natin magagrant yung citizen. Does it matter or doesn't it matter kung halimbawa marunong siyang mag-basketball, but here's somebody, another applicant, who has demonstrated his love for the Philippines. So, saan po ba natin kukwentahin yun, Madam President? Mr. Sponsor.
Yes, Mr. President, we agree with the good senator from Tarlac, the gentleman from Tarlac, that mere being able to play for champions and become critical or significant contributions to a champion team should not be the only basis for citizenship, Mr. President. In fact, in many instances in this chamber, we have naturalized citizens who are not basketball players. In other words, it's not merely because we want to win championships that we grant citizenship, of course, in this case, to Mr. Boatwright. And in fact, in the hearings, we made sure through our questions, our searching questions, to determine his willingness, to embrace Filipino culture, his willingness to settle down in the Philippines was likewise raised. Senator Jinggoy Estrada also asked if did he associate with Filipino citizens or Phil-Ams in the West Coast where he resided, and all that, Mr. President. So it's not merely or simply just because this individual applying for citizenship will bring us medals, that is the consideration. In fact, Mr. President, with Mr. Ramos, who is the wrestler, we saw, Mr. President, that he had been offered by no less than the United States Olympic organization with respect to wrestling, for him to play and for the U.S. team, but he declined precisely because he said he wants to represent the Philippines. And that's where yung tinatawag na, and this was on record, yung lukso ng dugo, Mr. President, hinahanap din natin. And so yes, I agree with him. With the good gentleman, the good senator from Tarlac, hindi lang yung dahil tayo ay kailangan maging champion team na kung sino-sino na lamang ang ating kukunin bilang player, naturalized player, Mr. President. I fully agree with his definition and his distinction between allegiance and citizenship, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for that answer. I am belaboring this, Madam President, because yung pong mga ibang naging Filipino citizen kahit hindi basketball players, ang alam ko po, when I was still in the House of Representatives, we were diligently examining the applicant kung gaano po yung kakayahan niya para embrace po yung kultura natin. Ang katotohanan nga po, nagpakita silang lahat ng mga manifestasyon at saka ng mga ebidensya, how they carried themselves, how they embrace Filipino culture. Kung ano po ba yung nagawa nila extraordinarily para sa bansa. There were special circumstances, Madam President. Kaya in most cases ay talagang pinayagan namin. Pero pagka yung maliwanag na maliwanag, isang bagay lang po ang kaya niyang gawin ay yung humawak siya ng isang bagay na bilog, yung bola lang, at sasabihin niya sa atin na kaya ko po kayong tulungan na makakuha ng ilang medalya. Parang napaka simplistic naman po. Sana meron pa pong iba sanang mga pamantayan na magagamit natin. Kasi po si Mr. Ramos, ang kaibahan na niya ay ang mga magulang niya Pilipino. Ito pong isang ito, palagay ko, Amerikano po ito.
Mexican and African American.
Yun nga po, wala talaga siyang Pilipinong dugo. Kaya sana sa ganito po sanang mga instances, suriin po nating mabuti para sa ganun, hindi lilitaw po na napakadali pala nating i-grant ang ating citizenship na para sa atin ay isang bagay na dapat po ay kinakailangan naman maging masinop tayo, maging mahigpit sapagkat ang pagiging Pilipino po ay hindi basta-basta po ibinibigay ng kahit kanino. Salamat po, Mr. Sponsor.
Sumasang-ayon po ako at palagay ko, yun talaga ang mangyayari dahil si Ginoong Senador Marcoleta na po ang magiging chairman ng Committee on Justice at siya po ang tatalakay sa mga citizenship bills sa darating na mga araw. At maraming salamat. Thank you to the gentleman from Tarlac and Pampanga for the interpellation. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Madam President. There being no other reservation for interpellation, may I respectfully move to close the period of interpellations and debate. So moved, Madam President.
Is there any objection? Hearing none. The consideration of the measure is closed, and we'll terminate the period of interpellation.
Thank you, Madam President. At this juncture, may I move that we open the period of individual amendments of House Bill number 6639 and recognize the sponsor, Senator Kiko Pangilinan. So move, Madam President.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr.
Sponsor.
President. Thank you, Majority Leader, Acting Majority Leader. Mr. President, we do not have committee amendments. There are no individual amendments, and therefore, with the permission of our colleagues, we can move to terminate the period of amendments.
We join the distinguished sponsor for moving the termination of the period of individual and committee amendments. So move, Madam President.
Any objection? Hearing none. The bill has no amendments whatsoever, and therefore it is, consideration of the measure is closed and passed on second reading. With no
Madam
objection.
President, I'm about to move.
Okay.
I-close lang muna.
You've not moved for a second reading yet.
About to, Madam
Closure
President.
of the period
Thank
of
you.
amendments.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. May I, before we
Just-
move for the
just a quick
approval,
question,
the Senate
Senate-
President would like to
Yes,
take the
we
floor.
recognize Senate President Cayetano.
Senator Pangilinan, congratulations for all you've done in the Committee on Justice. So if he becomes a citizen, he can already vote.
As long as he registers, yes, Mr. President.
So he will have voting rights.
That is correct. Mr.
So
Vote Right will have
vote right will have voting
vote
rights.
rights.
Okay.
Yes,
Just
voting
wanted to
rights.
clarify.
He will have the right to vote. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, and
President.
we are all hoping that he votes right. Madam President, I move that we approve on second reading House Bill number 6639. So move, Madam President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the said measure is now approved on second reading. Congratulations, Senator Kiko Pangilinan.
And Madam President, some of our colleagues wanted to be co-author of this measure. Let me put that
Would you
into
like
the
to
record,
read them
Mr.
into the
President.
record, please?
Yes, Madam President.
Who are these co-authors?
Everyone present, Madam
Everyone
President?
present to be made co-authors of the said measure.
Thank you. Co-sponsor, Madam President.
Co-sponsor
Yes.
or co-author? Or both?
Co-sponsor because
To co-sponsor the measure, yes. Let it be, let
Placed in the
everyone
record.
present here today
Yes.
be made co-sponsors of the said measure.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 6639. So move, Madam President.
No objection, hearing none. Consideration of the measure is hereby suspended.
Thank you,
May I
Madam
ask for a
President.
minute suspension, Madam President?
Session suspended.
Thanks.
Nako, naka-privilege speech. Milky, I don't think she understands.